The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Gary Gunn with the showcase event for August 2007. This is number 111. We started back in August 2007, and Mike Brewster with Gill's Garage was our very first interview. And we've been doing this on air and giving this information out in our industry for many, many times. And hopefully you've come here to get the valuable information from our panelists today. This is sponsored by Automotive Service Leaders. Just want to make sure everybody can hear my voice out there. If you would raise your hand if you can hear my voice, just to make sure everything is set up and running correctly out there. So great. Thanks for letting me know that. I appreciate it very much. So on with the show here. We have some sponsors that we want to make sure we talk about today, because that makes these shows possible. And number one is the ASA, Automotive Service Association. We are a member of that, have been a member for many, many years. If you are not a member of ASA, please contact them at asashop.org. And if you would, tell them you heard about it on Showcase and get signed up for ASA. It's the only national organization for the automotive industry. Got a lot of great member benefits. So if you'll go to our website, turnaroundtour.com, we have many services there you may be aware of. There may be some you're not aware of. We have Auto Shop Lifeline, Select Group, and Honor Circle. And yes, we are a sponsor benefit provider for ASA. We are one of the 38 providers, and that's Lifeline program's $44. We have a mailbox marketing program, includes Mudlick Mail and send out cards. So here's an announcement that I'm really excited about. It's something we've been working on for a while, and what it is our No Reverse Club. You know, what is a No Reverse Club? Well, you know, I read a story the other day. I want to share the story with you. The first time I saw her, I fell in love. She was a beautiful, sleek, radiant. As soon as I spied that 1962 Ford Thunderbird at the used car lot, her shiny exterior and killer interior beckoned me. I knew this was the car for me, so I plunked down the $800 and purchased my first car. But there was a problem lurking inside my prized possession. A few months later, I bought my T-Bird. It suddenly became particular about where I would park or which way I would go. It allowed me to go forward, but it couldn't go backward. My T-Bird had gone in reverse with no reverse. Although not having a reverse is a problem in a car, sometimes it's good for us to be a little like my T-Bird. We need to keep going forward with the possibility of putting our business without putting our business in reverse. We need to press forward to our dreams and goals. If you feel you're in reverse in your business thinking, your actions, possibly your behaviors, your attitude, your spirit, your staffing, your advertising, your habits, your dreams, your visions, your training, perhaps a new perspective would be great, and possibly to put your car, your business in that T-Bird. So what we're doing on November 17th of this month, we are launching our No Reverse Club. If you want to join that club, it's $9.80 per month. We're going to have 2 ongoing webinars, and really what we're going to be talking to shop owners about is how not to take your business in reverse. So we're going to have a free test drive November 17th. Be watching for the emails that come out and get signed up for that, and come check that out. That's our No Reverse Club, $9.80 a month. Please plug into that. I think you'll be well pleased with what we have. Now, we have some very special guests here today. We have some panelists. We have a major host on the call with us. His name's Greg Sands. Possibly Tim Ross will be here in just a few minutes. We have a gentleman named A.C. Garino, Mars Overly, Carrie Nyer, and Aaron Clements. And what I'd like to do is just spin through those folks and introduce them a little bit to you and have them tell you who they are, so when they're speaking and talking about their business or the concepts or the key strategies we're going to talk about today, then you'll know who these folks are talking. So Greg, if you would, this is Greg Sands, and Greg, tell us a little bit about your background and who you are in case there's somebody out there that may not know you.
Okay. Yeah, well, my name's Greg Sands. I am the owner of Mudlick Mail, which is a direct mail company. We do a lot of direct mail for shops around the United States. I also own or partnerships in 4 different concepts around the country, automotive repair shops. One is First Choice up in Knoxville, Tennessee. We have America's Service Station in Atlanta, Drivers Auto Repair in Houston, and then Service Street, we have stores that are both in Atlanta and Denver. We right now I'm currently opening 8 more locations it's probably about the next 6 to 8 months. We got 2 opening up in December, and so I'm a shop owner and into some other real estate and direct mail and a little bit of everything. Been doing this since 1993. I've opened a grand total of 68 locations. Most of those I built from the ground up. Back in the 90s, I was the largest Goodyear dealer in the state of Texas, and now I'm glad that I'm not. So that's a little bit about me.
All right. Is Tim with us, Greg, or not?
Tim is not on the phone, but he is making sure all my technology is working. We've had some technological difficulties here, so he's keeping me going.
Okay,
he can
great.
hear you, though. He can hear you.
Well, that's good. All right. Well, welcome, Tim. Hopefully you can come in.
On here. Yeah, there's enough heavyweights on here. You won't need Tim today.
No, we won't need Tim, so that's all right. Well, let's do this. Let's go to AC Garino. AC, I'm going to flip to your website here, and AC is a shop owner, and the reason we wanted AC on here is he uses a lot of the strategies that we're talking about today. So, AC, tell us a little bit about who you are and where your shop is, and a little bit so the audience will know who AC is.
Well, my name's AC Garino. It's Alfred Collin Garino, or just AC. Been in business since 1995. Worked for dealerships before that. Been a master technician for, I don't know, 34 years. I've been working in the business for 38 years. I'm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The county, everything's probably somewhere around 380,000. So it's not little, but it's not big. Been using Mudlick Mail now for, I reckon, 2 years. One of the first ones with them, and it was a no-brainer for me. But we're an 8-bay shop, 4 technicians, 3 GSs, 3 managers. And I just sit back here and work on budgets and things like that.
Okay, well, great. I appreciate you being here, AC, and we'll get you in on a couple of other things here shortly. Carrie, tell us about Carrie and Carrie's Car Care and introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, well, I'm Carrie with Carrie's Car Care. I'm in Glendale, Arizona. Been in business for 19 years. Thanks to people like Gary and Greg, my business has flourished a lot in the last 7 or 8 years. I've been using Mudlick Mail since, gosh, before they even started calling it Mudlick Mail. And it's just been great. I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Okay, great. Thank you for being here. And let's go to CNC Automotive in Augusta, Georgia. So, Aaron, come on in.
And good morning. And my name is Aaron Clements, and I'm the team leader of CNC Automotive. And we have been in business 35 years, and we just opened our 2nd location in April. And my daughter, Amanda, is now the vice president of the company, and she's also the manager of the 2nd location, and her husband is the shop manager of the 2nd location. And I will say that the Gary Gunn, Greg Sands, Tim Ross, and the Mudlick team played a big part in us being able to expand. I believe they gave us a lot of confidence, let us know that we could do it. This industry's been very, very good to me, and I enjoy it a lot. I'm still excited about the industry, love doing new things and getting involved. And I've done a radio show for, I guess, about 16 years now, a call-in talk radio show. I still enjoy that just as much now as I did 16 years ago. It's a lot of fun, and I'm always learning, and of course that's one of the reasons I'm here now. I'm on the panel, but I enjoy learning. And so that's the story of Aaron Clements and CNC Automotive.
Well, Aaron, thanks for being here, and we'll get some more Aaron here in a little bit on some different topics. So we have a gentleman, well, it's not clear. There we go. Rick's 36. Mars, come on in and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mars Overley from Rick's 36 Automotive in Stillwater, Minnesota. We're located right on the border of Wisconsin. We're in a town with two towns together, probably about 18 or 20,000 people. Most of the people with our Mudlick mail get our card, so that's good. Want to make sure that we're taking care of our customers. I've been the owner here for just over 2 years now, but I worked at Rick's 36 since 1994. We're a 9-bay facility, 4 technicians, 2 general service, and 3 managers plus myself. And we're here 6 days a week to help our customers out. I guess that's about it.
All right, excellent. Well, let's go to the topics, what we're here to discuss today. And I sent the topics out to our panel, and Greg is, we'll start off with Greg. And Greg, I just kind of narrowed down our key strategies here to 10 different strategies. And if you would, take that number 1 strategy there and expand your thinking about what you feel yes means when you're saying that through the phone and your staff and the culture you're creating in your many stores. What does yes mean to you?
Well, I'm glad I got the first one. You know, I go around the country and I talk to shop owners, and people will tell you outside of direct mail, this number 1 issue, saying yes to customers, is the biggest thing that's turned around their shops. It's critical in our stores. And what saying yes means is that, you know, when a customer comes in, whether they're bringing a coupon or they want an oil change or they need their car fixed, it doesn't matter if you're blown out in the back or if you're dead, you have to find a way to say yes to that customer. When they say, hey, can I get an oil change, you don't say, can you bring it back at 3 o'clock? That's a no. The only way you say yes is if you handle their issue right then. And if you get good at it, I always think of it like, you know, the difference between a 1-star hotel and a 5-star hotel. You know, the difference really is they both have the same problems, but the 5-star hotel finds a way to resolve their problems without the customer knowing about it. So if you get there earlier and say, can I check in, a 1-star hotel will go, well, you know, we've had some problems with our cleaning crew. The rooms aren't clean yet. Can you come back later and check in at 2 o'clock? The 5-star hotels, they have the same problems, but they don't tell you that. They just say, oh, absolutely, let me go ahead and buy you a drink at our bar or get you a snack, and we're getting your room all ready for you. We're going to take care of you. They don't tell you their problems. So being a yes company, whenever somebody calls, if they call you, you say yes. If they show up at your front counter, you say yes. You never tell them to come back later. If you do that and you do it well, your shop will be completely blown out. This is a really critical item. Thanks for letting me answer that one there, Gary.
Yeah, we're going to get all the guys to comment on this one, but this is the one. Someone says, Gary, what can I do today to start fixing my business? What can I do today to move it forward and stay out of going in reverse? And I think yes is the key to our success, period.
Well, and they won't even realize that they're saying no. Most shop owners will go, oh, well, that's a no-brainer. I say yes all the time. Very few shop owners say yes. Even I've been in shops where shop owners tell me they say yes, and then a customer will come in and they turn them away right in front of me. And they didn't realize that, hey, I told them that we wouldn't be busy at 2 o'clock. Well, guess what? That customer didn't want to get their car fixed at 2 o'clock. They wanted it now. So if that means pushing a car out of the way to get that one in, that's what you do. You prioritize the cars coming in the shop, and you overwhelm the guys in the back of the shop. That's how you make money in this business.
There you go. So AC, if you would, springboard on that yes for us. I know you're running some massive car counts, and when we first met each other many years ago, your car count wasn't very good, but now it's really, really well. And share about your concept of yes at AC Automotive and what you train your people to do.
It's funny, my manager's standing behind me. I'm not going to tell you what he just called me.
Okay.
But Greg is absolutely 100% right. You cannot say no. You can't even look out the door and see what's going on. And the word is yes or absolutely. we'll get you in right away. You know, just help yourself, get a Coke, get a cup of coffee. We'll get you taken care of in no time. My car count in the last year has increased 16%. And from 2 years ago, I know it's increased at least somewhere around 50%. So we're averaging 700 cars a month. In the last 6 months, we've averaged 700 cars a month. And we'll get into numbers later on, but it's just absolutely essential that you say yes. You learn to say yes if you're not saying yes right now.
Okay, so what you're saying is don't even look in the shop. Don't even care about how many cars are in the parking lot. Just kind of block that out, right?
Just block it out. Get it done. I tell my guys, I don't care if you got to jack it up with a floor jack. Let's go. You know,
there you go. All right, so that's
no
what you teach the culture there at your business is on the yes side.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I'd like some more yeses here. I know, Mars, you're pretty good at saying yes at your location. So what do you train your people? What's the concept? What's the culture? And how do you get it across to your staff that we must say yes?
Well, I think that it all starts with what Greg and what AC both said is just say yes. Just remember that you are not allowed to say no. When you bring people in, number 10 is employee training, and right from the get-go, when you teach those people, say, if, you know, this is the way that we do it here. We say yes. You know, they say, can I get an oil change, or it looks like you're really busy. We're never too busy to help a customer, sir. Why don't you go ahead and give me your keys? I'll get somebody started on it, and I'll get some information from you. Just say yes. We don't say no. I mean, that's it. You know, they ask, do you do this? Yes, we do. Do you do this? Yes, we do. Do you do this? Yes, we do. I mean, one of the slogans that almost everybody in our group uses is, we fix everything. We don't say no.
There you go. Was that a hard thing to shift into, Mars? I know you bought the business and you were working there as a service advisor for many years. Then you stepped into the ownership role. Has it been difficult to get your employees moving to that yes, or moving to the process?
It was, and I will tell everybody on the phone that I had almost a complete employee changeover. I have one person left from 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, and we haven't slowed down. You know, this company will not slow down. We will help our customers fix their vehicles, and we will stay healthy. We say yes, and that helps us.
So there's no reverse in RICS 36, right?
There is. We don't even have an R on our odometer or thing. It's just an R.
Doesn't work.
Nope,
right.
It's not even there.
Good. All right. So, Carrie, on this saying yes, I know I'm taking a lot of time on this saying yes, but folks, this is mission-critical piece, because none of the speed of service, the board, the budgeting, the direct mail, the scripting, the leaving the tickets open, the PMI process, nothing's going to happen till you have cars in the driveway. So, Carrie, how important is it to load the parking lot by saying yes?
Well, Gary, you're right on with the saying yes. None of the other steps matter if you're not saying yes. And I'm one of these owners that fights with this constantly. And I think probably most guys, if they want to be honest with themselves, have to push this issue every day. I'm a 3-day-a-week guy. I work 3 days a week. When I come in, I listen to phone calls. I train my people when I'm there constantly. And when I'm not there, I know this ball gets dropped. And it gets dropped because of the pressure from the shop. The technicians are going, we can't take any more in. We can't do this. We can't pull this car out. And they just need to stand strong and be in charge and run the shop. And we do falter on it. And it's a constant training process.
Yeah, because it's really hard to say it when you know you're just, and the concept that you probably heard a lot about is, who's the most important person? Who's the most important customer?
Well, they're all important.
The one standing at your counter.
Okay, thank you, Mars. The one standing at your counter or saying, can you do this for me, right?
Right.
Everybody else goes on hold. We got to take care of that person standing there or on the telephone, don't we?
Absolutely.
That's a hard one to overcome, too. So they go together. Saying yes is conceptually great, and we know without a shadow of a doubt it's not a concept. It's not a theory. It works, and that's the reason I wanted these guys on the telephone today. And we have one more person to say yes here. And Aaron, I know you run a very large organization down in Augusta. When you started plugging in this yes thinking or this yes culture, what did you run into with your people?
Gary, it's taken time to get everyone on board. It's a constant hammering it in. But over a period of time, it's hard not to say yes. I'll give you an example. I mean, when you asked me about being on this panel, I mean, I had a meeting I was supposed to be at right now, but there's just no way I can say no anymore. It's hammered into me also. So I didn't have a choice. I said yes, because that's all that had come out of my mouth now. But no, in the beginning, it was a little bit difficult. There was several of them that had a little concerns about being on a job, say a timing belt job or something like this, and needing to pull off to do the oil changes. But after a period of time, and it was a fairly short period of time, they discovered all the benefits to being able to say yes. And I think one thing that I thought was important that Greg Sands said a long time ago is when you say no, you create that black spot, and it won't do any good to send that person Mudlick mail or even advertise to them, because if you told them no one time, high probability they won't be back. So I think the team now realizes how important it is to say yes.
Okay, sounds good. So Greg, if you'll wrap and put a bow on that word yes for us, and kind of collectively speak to what you heard from a lot of these shop owners instituting and creating the yes culture. So wrap it up for us.
Well, I think if you really want to accomplish this, do what the industry doesn't do, and that is track car count more than you track ticket average. If you want to see your car count go through the roof, this is the biggest mistake the shop owners make, is they track their ticket average, which causes their managers at the front counter to say no. They want to turn away anything that's small. You track car count, and you make that the #1 priority. In our company, we want to build market share. So car count outranks ticket average all day long.
Okay, excellent. All right, and let's continue on with the and Greg, if you would start us off on executing SOS and tell the folks out there what that means to you and your company, and then we'll go around the board again and see what the panelists have to say. But what is SOS, man? You know, is it you go to the grocery store and buy an SOS pad? What the heck is it?
Well, it's standard operating systems, and that is, you know, we have systems for everything we do, and Gary teaches a lot of those systems, which is, you know, whether it's phone skills, we have
Greg?
a way that we,
Hey,
yes.
Greg, maybe I didn't explain that one. That speed of service.
Oh, I thought you were standard operating, so you got to warn me about this.
Well, yeah, no, well, yeah, I've been explaining, but so it's speed of service, so I wanted to stop you from going down that pathway.
Okay. Well, the speed of service, we usually just put speed up there.
Okay.
So that's the standard operating procedure. So sorry about that.
We'll correct that.
Thank you. Okay. Well, the speed of service, that goes with saying yes. The two go together. So, you know, one of the problems that we hear all the time is that, you know, when you get a new customer, 9 times out of 10 it's an oil change or it's something small. And, you know, it's funny, around the country, people say they hate oil changes. And the reason why they hate oil changes and technicians hate them is because they don't make any money off of them. Well, what we discovered is that if you, I'm sorry? If you use one of our coupons and you get a coupon at the front counter and it's an oil change, it comes with an inspection. If you check out that car and you get back with that customer within 10 minutes, your probability of getting a sale goes up 3-fold. You're still only going to get, if you get 10 oil changes, think of it like a batting average. If you get 10 oil changes, you're going to upsell 3 or 4 of those. So your average ticket on an oil change is going to be about $110 a ticket. That's across the board. That's even outside of our company. Other shop owners have come up with the same deal. Well, you know, if you can get $110 on every oil change, and that's their first visit, Well, what we learned is if they buy something outside of an oil change on their first visit, they're going to come back to you. Now they're a customer for life. That's how you build your business. So speed is everything. If you don't have it on the front side, if you have a customer go in the waiting room and they're waiting in there for 15, 20 minutes before their car even gets pulled around, your chances of selling anything on that car goes to zero. You got to remember that when people come in the front door, they have budgeted just a certain amount of time for their car. Like for an oil change, most people will budget 1 hour to get their oil changed. So if they show up at your shop and they know that, hey, I've got 1 hour, well, if you're not even doing the oil change for 30 minutes, your chance of getting something off of that goes to nothing. But if you get back with them in 10 minutes and you have something simple like a flush or a belt or hose, something that it needs, especially something that you can get in that same amount of time, your probability is going to go through the roof. It'll go higher than a 4 or 5 time, but on average you're going to get a much better return on investment. But it's all about speed. Speed sells.
Okay. And Mars, what I'd like for you to do is walk us through in your business how you set up that execution point with SOS. What do you do when that customer walks through the door?
Our mission is to not let the keys hit the door or hit the counter. As soon as they come in and say, we're here for an oil change, absolutely, Mrs. Jones, let me have your keys. I'll get you checked in just a second and hand it to the technician and say, this is Mrs. Jones' car, lube oil filter, wait. They're out taking the car, pulling it around, going on a very short test drive. We go down to the end of the block and around in our cul-de-sac circle and then pull it in. In the meantime, what the service advisor is doing is checking Mrs. Jones in, pulling up the mileage, printing out the maintenance records and her history. And then we go back, and now that technician and that service advisor are doing that PMI together. And the service advisor is in charge of the PMI. He's asking the questions, hey, tell me about the belt, tell me about the hose. The 3 safety things that we look at are belts, hoses, and then we lift it up just a few inches to inspect the steering and suspension to make sure something's not absolutely critically loose. Then we start looking at fluids, the not hoses, but the fluids, other things. If we don't see anything, then we lift it up. If we do see a safety item, then we stop work right then and there. We don't go through the whole inspection and spend 20 minutes doing the preventive maintenance inspection. We want to get that customer involved with their lube oil filter service and possible repair. So we go in, the service advisor goes in to the waiting room and says, hey, Mrs. Jones, do you have just a minute? We noticed one thing on your vehicle. And she says, yes, okay. And so we go out there and we say that she's got a pretty badly frayed belt. And so we say, Mrs. Jones, you see this belt right here? See how it's cracked and frayed? That runs all your accessories, and basically, if that belt were to break, it, could leave you stranded, and it really needs to be replaced. And then so we wait for it's decision time. Either she's a buyer today or she isn't, by what she responds to. Either she says, well, how much is that? That's a buying response. She wants to know how much it is. Or if she says, well, yeah, I know about that, never mind, or my son's a mechanic, whatever excuse she's giving you to not have that belt fixed, well, then that's fine. So if she says yes, then we say, oh, she says, how much? Say, oh, we didn't even have a chance to put an estimate together. Why don't you sit down for a minute and I'll put an estimate together for you. And we put an estimate together. In the meantime, that technician's back doing the rest of the preventive maintenance inspection. And so we tell Mrs. Jones, hey, Mrs. Jones, your belt is, the total investment today, parts and labor, would be X amount of dollars. And either then she says yes or no. Almost like 99% of the time they say yes. So now we've got that vehicle. Now we've got time on that vehicle. And we say, well, can we get you a ride home, or would you like to wait? I mean, it's all about prioritizing the time, speed of service, getting those things done. And then we get that belt put on there. We get the rest of the preventive maintenance inspection done. If we give her a ride home, that's great. That gives us much more time. Now we can really get in depth with it. Look at the mileage markers, look at all the fluids, look at everything else. So, and it's just all speed. It's all speed.
Okay. Well, just wanted to, hear that from a shop owner executing this on a daily basis on the vehicles that come through the shop there. So AC, Carrie, Aaron, maybe you have something else to add to that. If you do, great. If not, we'll move to another subject.
You can move on. I'd add that you need to, as the owner or even the manager, you need to stay on top of the technicians and constantly teach and remind, have your EPAs, and this is what you teach. And once they get tired of listening to you, sooner or later they're going to do it. So that's the only thing I'd add.
Okay. So it's a not teach them one time and forget it.
Exactly. Follow up, follow up, follow up.
Okay. All right. Anybody else before we move on? All right. So, Greg, if you'll lead us off again here on utilizing the board, or possibly maybe wrapping up the speed of service of something that you would like to add to what you just heard, or if not, move to the utilizing the board system.
I think we covered the speed of service or standard operating procedures.
Okay.
The utilizing board, that's the heartbeat of my organization. Most people wonder, what is the board? And the board, which Gary has a copy of, that is what we really run our whole store by, which is we fill out the customer's name, what they came in for, where we ordered parts, it's how many times we updated the customer. It really, this was all developed years ago to prevent getting yelled at. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, when you're in a store, I hate getting yelled at by a customer or feeling like I'm not on top of it. Well, if you utilize our board the way that we have it and the way that we teach it, you're really playing offense. You shouldn't ever have a customer calling you, asking you, about their car unless they're returning your call. You shouldn't have somebody show up at the front counter expecting to get their car if the car is not ready. Because if you're playing offense and you utilize the board, you're on top of that. You're calling them before they ever call you. And so that's the whole point. It will dramatically improve your customer service. Probably the worst thing our industry has is that the complaints is that we never, people have to follow up on us. And by having the board, we really play offense. And so that's the main point for discussion on the board. I think everybody on the panel uses the board.
Yeah, we're going to find out and see how well they utilize it here. So, Aaron, I know that at your new store, where Amanda is running the store for you down there, she's utilizing the board. And what have y'all found that really is the key to utilizing the board? What have you found out inside of your organization?
Well, Gary, a lot of years back, I'm going to say 20 years ago, we used the board to keep track of the names, and it was used in a similar fashion, but not near utilized as good as it is now. And we hit the spot where we were going paperless and trying to just look at what was on the board. And I started attending it. So we put our little wedge-shaped paper holder upstairs in a little bag so it would stay fairly clean, but it was stored up there. Well, they started going to these classes, and they were talking about how the board works and did this and that. And I started buying into the idea. So when we got back from one of the meetings, I went upstairs and grabbed this thing and put it back out there and put the sheets on there. And it's been wonderful. It's taken a lot of anxiety out. Not only are you able to track the customers much, much better, everything's all in more of a condensed area to where you can really see what's going on. But I think another way that it's helped us a large amount is that the technicians, if there's any type of dispute on how many vehicles one person had as opposed to another person, it takes that concern away, because you're able to just take a paper from the day before, another day out, and show it to this person, and they agree, yeah, everything was as fair as it could be. We have loved that part, and again, it has let us know that if there's a person that's been in the waiting room for a period of time, 10 or 15 minutes or so, we need to start finding out where we're at on that vehicle, because we have waiting there, and we know that the person is in the waiting room. So it's just been a much easier way, a more efficient way to track what's going on in the shop.
And I'd like to ask you a couple more questions, Aaron. And I know you're a pilot. You fly, and you've had your own plane, and you've flown planes and things like that, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, if you were going to fly, say, 200 miles, would you have a flight plan?
I would have a flight plan without question, and it would be laid out very thoroughly on when I'm leaving, the route that I'd be taking, when I expected to land, fuel usage, all of these things would be taken into account.
And what I love the analogy is the board system is like taking each one of your customers and putting them on a flight plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're going to call them, when you're not going to call them, when the parts are in, when the car's been PMI'd, when the car's been inspected, everything, that whole flight plan for that customer is right there on that board system, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, Gary, I'll mention one other thing to you. I also, in the Air Force, was a crew chief on F-4 fighter jets. And in the truck, there was a wedge-shaped board with now they used grease pencils to do it with, but it was a board where they kept track of each airplane and what was being done on the airplanes, very similar to what we do there.
So again, the PMI comes into the you don't fly that vehicle, you don't fly that plane till you've done your PMI, do you?
That is correct.
Make sure everything is working right.
Mm-hmm. It does tie in very closely, yes.
Yeah. So that's Kerry, have you experienced some utilizing the board? I haven't talked to you in a while about the board, but what have you experienced?
Well, Gary, we never quit using the board. I've used it for a number of years, practically since it was first introduced to me. And I use it as more of a report card. I go through that board, again, because I'm like a part-timer. I'm only there 3 days a week. I go through the board every day, though. Every time I'm there, I look through all the boards and past boards, and it's a report card. I want to know when they called my customers. I want to know who they ordered parts from. I want to know what their ISO and PMI was and what technician worked on what car. If it's all there, they get an A. If it's not there, we sit down and talk until it's right.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm going to go to, let's see if I can get to that library over here. Let me find that. I had the library up a minute ago to Mudlick Mail. There it is right there. If you go to the Mudlick Mail website, and if you go to the Learning Center and click on and log in, you'll have to log in with your username and password, and you go to the videos. There's a video in there. It's about, I think it's about 40 minutes, and it's all about the board, why it's used. Mike did that for us and recorded that and did a really great job explaining that, and those boards and everything, all the information is right there on that video. So this is where you would find a complete explanation of what the board is. And if you're not utilizing the Learning Center on the Mudlick Mail website, shame on you, because it's got massive, massive information here. So, Greg, we'll come back to you on maybe the last comment about the board and see if there's anything you would like to add there, sir.
Well, the only thing I'll add is that everybody that has really got after and used to not only see their sales go up, complaints go down, but a real dramatic increase in their profitability. You know, so it really does help you manage your day. By 4 or 5 in the afternoon, you're really completely caught up. And it is a great, if you're not a hands-on shop owner, if you're not working the front counter every day, I think Kerry really hit on the head, which is, and you can walk in your shop and you know where you're at in just a few minutes, you know, just by looking at the board.
All right, and I know, Greg, we're going to have you start off on this, and it's your favorite subject, like budgeting, and most people will probably click out and go home right now, and their eyes will glaze over, like you always say. Budgeting is fun. It's exciting to me. I'm kind of a numbers Nazi. I like it, and I think you do too, because that's how you project your profitability, and that's how you rank your stores to see how they're doing. So walk us through, in your mind's eye, how mission critical is the budget to these store owners?
Well, you can ask, you know, Tim has to live by it even with Mudlick Mill. Any company of mine, we always build our budgets in November and December for the following year. Now, most people, the reason why they don't like budgets is because they don't know how to write them. And if you don't, I'll give you a brief explanation, and it'll save you. Because what happens is people look at the new year, and it's kind of like dieting. You know, they eat a bunch of crap all winter, and then they go, man, on January 1st, I'm going on this big diet. Well, by the end of January, they've given up on that diet because they had their expectations set too high. You know, what I do when I budget is I look at my trailing 3 months, and I look at how I'm tracking. If I'm tracking up 5% over last year, well, just because January is a new year doesn't mean I'm going to suddenly go up in sales 20%, unless I've done something really different. So a lot of the budgeting, the reason why people give up is they think, I'm going to write a budget, I'm doing $80,000 a month right now, but starting in January, I'm going to do $100,000. Well, why? Well, just because I want to do $100,000. And then when they only do 80, they get disappointed. Budgeting really helps you put money in the bank. It allows you, if you're doing 80s, a lot of times if you don't write a budget, you don't follow it, you'll spend that whole $80,000. You'll end up at the end of the month pretty much at a break even. When you manage yourself through a budget and you start watching each line item, you see how hard it is to really stay within that budget. Then, in fact, we were working on a budget before we got on the phone here with Mudlick Mail. We go through that. You can really see where you're missing it. But and Gary has all the information on writing budgets. The key is to stick to it and stick to it for 12 straight months. If anybody, I could give you a challenge to get in there with Gary, do the 12-month budget, challenge yourself, don't kill yourself by thinking, hey, I got to be up 20, 30% in sales. If I'm down 5% in sales, the highest I'll budget the first quarter is a break even to last year. Because I know it's going to take me a few months to really get my team built, to really get things turned around. So the art is in how you write it, and it all starts with your sales. I could almost take somebody's 12 months and in really 30 minutes tell you about what you're going to do, and I'll be within 50K of your sales probably for the year. You know, out of my 24 stores, I'm usually within $50,000 or $100,000 for the year in sales, and that's because I understand trends. And that's part of running a good operation is not only sales, but making sure you hold yourself accountable to what you're spending in your shop. Not where you want to run a dirty shop, but you want to run a optimal shop without any waste. So that's the best answer I can get in this amount of time. But budgeting is just the first thing we do for every new year.
Okay, we have a budgeting expert on the phone with us on our panel, and Mars Overly probably spends more time on the budget than probably a lot of shop owners do. So Mars, walk us through what you do, and not all the fine details, but the time element, and I know you're utilizing a lot of the tools that we have, and impress on the folks out there what it has done for you. So Mars, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, the budget has just been huge. I was a rookie shop owner, just like I said, 2 years under my belt, and I didn't know anything about budgeting. And I was like, you know what, this seems really important because Gary's talking about it, Greg's talking about it, some other people are talking about it. I should really go to these classes. I'm paying for them anyway. I may as well go. So I started going, and I think I went to one class, and I was like, I can't figure this out. I'm not smart enough. And we were dragging things here and there, and anyway, but I said, no, this is something as a business owner, I need to be the person in charge of the money, and I don't want to ever go out of business because I ran out of money. I never want to go out of business, period, but I don't ever want it to be that. So I started going to these classes and started seeing how money is everything in a business. I mean, if you don't have any capital, you can't get purchase discounts. If you don't have capital, you're always beating up on your people. How come you can't do this? How come you can't do that? I mean, it's so multifaceted, and so you start putting this budget together and you look at your business and you say, okay, I see that there's concerns, and how do I fix these concerns? And is it, we always go over that in the budgeting class. Is it a revenue issue? Is it a spending issue? Is it a gross profit issue? Is it, what issue is it? So by filling out your number and putting it into a budget, you can diagnose what's wrong with your business. and what's right. You can also look at that and say, hey, cool, I don't have a spending issue. I'm not spending too much. My revenue's good, but look at my gross profit. Well, why is that? So you're like, well, look at my return on labor and look at my return on parts. Okay, well, what do I have to do to change that? And so then you can make changes to your business, because numbers don't lie. You're going to try to have emotions like, oh, well, this, or oh, well, that. The numbers are right there, and they never lie to you. And that's just been huge for me. It's, I've taken this business, and in 2009 when I took over, we were a relatively successful business. We were successful. We were doing 1.2s, 1.2, 1.25, and last year we did 1.5, and this year we're tracking 1.5 again. So, and that's come from budgeting. I mean, it really has. It's come from saying yes. It's been coming from looking at the numbers to see, can I afford to buy this equipment? Can I afford a new alignment rack? Or can I save for it for 8 months and then pay for it up front so I don't have to lease it? I mean, without a budget, you're just, if you're looking at your checkbook and saying, well, yeah, I've got, $30,000 for an alignment rack. Well, what happens when those unexpected bills or your property tax shows up like, oh, I shouldn't have bought that alignment rack? You don't miss it with a budget. You don't miss it because you can't, because it's all on paper. It's all right there.
All right, Mars, I wanted to bring you in on that, because if you attend our webinars on budgeting, you will hear Mars on that webinar. And Mars, I just kind of sat back and just let Mars teach the webinar, because very good at budgeting, and I think he's got a great handle on it. And so if you come, you'll hear his voice as much as you do mine. So Mars, thank you for being such a great student on the budgeting side, and man, it will make or break your business long run, no question about it.
Absolutely will. And thank you, Gary, for continually to teach the same stuff over and over.
Well, there are certain building blocks. There's certain building blocks if you don't have in place, it ain't going to work.
Some of us do have to hear it more than 10 or 20 times, like 30 times, before it finally penetrates that last eighth of an inch,
That's right. That's right. Okay, I know AC, one more piece of information here on budgeting. I know AC that you got into budgeting real heavily a couple of years ago, and you're still doing it. Share with the group what you do.
Well, basically I'll look at the last 3 months, last 6 months, and the last year, and I look at those averages, and then I'm constantly working on this month and next month, and looking at last month. And like Greg said, trying to project and predict what's going on, and try to lay down a year's worth, but really work on 3 months at a time. And my problem now is trying to figure out how fast I'm growing, and in other words, what to do with the money. But it's a good problem to have. I learned everything I did about budgeting from coming to your budgeting group on Tuesdays. Quit coming for a while, but then I came back this month, and hey, I learned something new. How about that?
That's right.
But it's as a business owner, you may have, like I do, I have an accountant person come in, works 4 days a week, keeps track of all my numbers on QuickBooks and from RO Writer, and I have a CPA. Well, that's all fine, but I still need to be involved. I need to know what's going on. I can't even tell you the last time I looked at my bank account, because I don't look at my checking account. I look on QuickBooks. I look at my budget. I see that everything's in line. I'm either over or under, and if I'm under, what am I doing wrong? What's happening here? And so Greg and Mars hit it the nail on the head. It's what an owner should be doing.
All right. Sounds good. You don't want to delegate that, do you? You want to know that yourself.
Exactly.
You bet. You can delegate the accounting process, but you better know where all the numbers are going and why they're going over there, and then work your own budget, because there's nobody's going to work a budget like you do. Nobody.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Greg, I think we beat up budgeting a little bit here, and everybody's in a coma out there right now. So they're all home working on their budget right now, so we chased them all out. So let's move to number 5, Greg, and I know you've tried all kinds of advertising over the years, and maybe you can kind of give us a pathway that you said, oh, finally say, okay, direct mail is the way I'm going to do this. Walk us through how you came to that decision.
Well, I started out doing marriage mail stuff like Valpak, Money Mailer, Velasquez, which was Advo back in my day. I've done newspaper, billboards, radio, TV on you know, the smaller scale, not the big, you know, like the cable stuff. And you know, the one thing, just to make, I can talk about this all day, but I'll kind of get to the point. You know, the marriage mail will work, but what it gets you is a coupon shopper. Marriage mail is the stuff like the money mailers. The problem with that is that the only people that actually see it are people who are very cost conscious. So if you're in a shop and you use a lot of marriage mail stuff, you're probably getting beat up on price a lot. So you tend to leave your prices lower. You have a hard time hitting your gross profit. Man, I was there back in 93, 94. I was the same guy. It wasn't until I discovered direct mail, and I had a hard time paying for direct mail when marriage mail was so much cheaper. What I didn't realize is that when you send a direct mail postcard into somebody's mailbox, one, you can decide who you're going to hit. You don't have to hit everybody in the zip code. You can hit people that are in certain income brackets. Well, that was huge to me because I wouldn't fill up my bays with low-end people that were really looking for the cheapest price, or, you know, senior citizens that were really looking for the cheapest price and they had all day. I wanted the dual income earners, the people who had to have their car and they had to have it today, and the first thing out of their mouth isn't how much, but how long. How long is it going to be before I get my car back? Direct mail is the perfect choice for that because they're non-coupon shoppers. And as a non-coupon shopper, I can get that in front of them. They're going to look at the ad. If they need something, they may leave it on their desk because they need it for directions, or they may call your store. But you may never see that come into your shop. They may throw it away. They're a non-coupon shopper. The cool thing is if you like the lower-end people, you can still advertise in that area, and you get both. You're still going to get the non-coupon shoppers, but you're going to, just by nature, you're going to pick up the coupon shoppers. Now, so direct mail really will take up any slack of that marriage mail, but the beautiful thing is you know that that piece will be seen by that homeowner. Now, the mistake people make with direct mail is they'll do direct mail and they'll add up their coupons. And remember, we don't want coupon shoppers. Those are a byproduct. They'll add up coupons and go, well, Greg, you know, I've only done 4,000 in sales off coupons, and you know that cost me $3,300 to do the direct mail piece. Well, there's two ways to look at that. One, just focus on the coupons. You can go, well, okay, how many of those customers, how many customers in your shop right now are long-term customers? They'll go, well, God, probably 85% of the customers coming through my front door are regular customers. So that means when you get them in once, they stay with you, right? And everybody always says yes. Well, then when those customers that I just got in there for you, those 30, 40, 50 customers, do you count those back on towards that expense when they come in 4 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now? See, that's what people miss. That's how I've been able to grow so much. I'm getting residual income off of ads I did 2 years ago, 4 years ago. But the average person doesn't think like that. They think, well, I advertised in July, so I just add up what I made off of my direct mail in July, and that's all my return is. That's the fool that cancels. That's the guy that doesn't know any better. We even go a step further for our clients, which is we put a recorded number on your direct mail piece for you. That number will count the number of people calling in, which basically will tell you about half the number that's coming in. About half the customers will call first. So not only will you see how many came in, but it records the call, so you can hear if your customer or if your store is really a yes company. Are they telling people, yes, come in, yes, come in? If you do, now you've got the home run, you've got the recipe for success. You'll do like the Mars and the ACs and the Aarons where they're seeing 600, 700, 800 cars. That's how you do it, man. So that's the deal. So I could talk on and on about the direct mail, but I'll let some of the other guys speak up. It is the single driver of business, and if you don't do anything to drive customers in your shop, don't be surprised that you're sitting around you know, 200 or 300 cars a month. That's what we all would be doing if we didn't spend money getting customers in our shop.
All right, very good, Greg, and it's a great lead off for us. So I know that Carrie has, Carrie, you and I were around when we were doing all marriage mail stuff. Remember that?
I do remember it.
Yeah, and we were doing 20, 30, 40,000 marriage mail pieces. I know that's where you started. And when did you make the shift from that marriage mail to a direct mail with Mudlick?
Well, right away, as soon as I met Greg with Mudlick, I actually started to change with Philip. We started doing some direct mail and then merged over to Greg.
All right. And what did you find in that direct mail card situation more than you did the marriage mail?
Well, I tell you, both of those processes work for me. I still do a combination, but my direct mail customer, you know, we stat everything. Our direct mail customer is normally a higher spender, an easier sale, which is a great benefit. You know, your counter guys find them much easier to work with.
Okay. All right. Do you find that, I know this has been talked about a lot, and do you find that a lot of those customers come in and they don't even clip the coupons, they just come?
Yes, that's a battle that I have with my wife constantly. She wants to count coupons, and I keep explaining to her it doesn't matter. They're not going to bring them in. You can't count them. You look for when your ad goes out, you look for your hair to blow back. All of a sudden your phone starts to ring and you start getting busy, and you know the ad hit.
That's called the rush, isn't it?
That is the rush.
That is the rush. Yep. We used to worry about our hair flying around. I mean, because it will happen to you if you just start saying yes and let the phone come off the hook there. We have a question out there, so let me go ahead and see what James would, let's see. James, you with us?
We're here.
Okay, your hand was up. I didn't know if you had a question.
No, I didn't have a question.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just thought you might.
All right.
All right, thanks. All right. So I know, Mars, I know you put out a lot of cards, and how many cards do you put out each month in your direct mail with Mudlick?
Unmute there. Sorry. Sorry. I put out about 15,000, and I think we just ramped it up to 17,000 for November and December. And we're going to see where that goes because I'm trying to hit certain goals that I have, laid out. And again, Greg has explained this, I think, a couple of times in our meetings, and something that I really took to heart is, to actually change somebody's buying habits is just immensely tough. I mean, you get used to going to Walmart or you get used to going to Target, and you just keep going there because that's where you go. Well, somehow you have to change. There's only two places to get customers. Either they move into your area or you have to take them from one of your competitors. And, with what that ad does is that actually changes somebody's buying habits. It's got a nice, big, glossy card, and they see it. They might throw it away 3 times, and then they're at XYZ Automotive, and they don't get treated right. So they say, well, I'm going to give, Rick's 36 a try. So, are they going to come to my counter and I'm going to spend all these thousands of dollars a month just to say no so they can go back to XYZ Automotive? Heck no, I'm not. That's another number one reason why we say yes. If you use direct mail, you know how expensive it is, and you know that you have to say yes. So that was a kind of a long, drawn-out answer for saying 15 to 17,000 pieces. But we, again, don't say no because of the direct mail and because we want to help our customers.
All right, very good. Let's jump to number 6 here. I know this is I love this, and we teach a lot of this scripting. We teach a lot of the anytime, the isolate, and the additional concern script. And I know that AC and Carrie and Mars and Aaron and everybody works on this scripting process. And Greg, if you would, share with the group how these scripts and how these things came about, and why do you use these? I mean, you could hire industry guys, and they know all about cars, and they could talk their way through anything. Why do you use scripts, number 6?
Well, 6 kind of works in with everything else, especially speed of service. If you notice, when I got into the business, I didn't know anything about cars. I knew slightly less than I know today about cars. I still don't know a lot about cars. So, somebody called me up and asked me, well, how much for a tune-up or something, or how much for a brake job for this car? Well, one, what I noticed is that we would spend a lot of time, shopping for parts, getting a quote together, call the customer, give them a price, and guess what? No matter what the price is, we never saw that customer. So we created things that would save time, and it made it consistent across all of our stores. So an anytime script is our phone script, which Gary Gunn provides for you. Our same script, our isolation script, our additional concerns, which is anytime script is simply if somebody calls and asks, hey, how much for a brake job? Well, we ask, well, what kind of concerns are you experiencing with your brakes? And then they're going to give you a concern. They're going to say, well, my brakes squeal when I come to a stop, or they're grinding, or whatever. Whatever they say, you just repeat what they say and go, well, anytime your car is squealing when it comes to a stop, you need to have that checked out by one of our ASE certified trained technicians. Is now a good time to bring in the vehicle? See, we ended it with asking a question. So it forces them to say either yes or no. Either they're going to say, oh, yes, okay, well, great, let me go ahead and get some information from you. Get the information and get them in right now. Now is a great time to bring in the vehicle. So that's our isolation, or our anytime script. Isolation is whenever they bring in the car and we check out the vehicle, we don't check out the entire car until we sell what they actually came in for. So we isolate their problem to one system, braking system in this case. So we don't go outside the braking system until we've sold that, because why waste our time checking out the vehicle, or even worse, a customer will buy something else that doesn't even pertain to the problem that they come in for. But once they buy the isolate, then we can ask, listen, while the parts are on the way, I'm going to go ahead and have John, our ASE certified trained technician, inspect the rest of your vehicle to see if there's any other concerns that you're not aware of. And if I find something, I will give you a call back. Is this a good number where I can reach you? You go over their phone number and you hang up. Now we have the time to go over the entire vehicle through all their systems, and at that point, that's when we call them up and we go over the additional concerns. Now, this is a very brief, you really need to go over these offline with Gary, because there's a lot more to it. In other words, we have positive and negative selling, how we role play before we pitch a job. These are all critical components of number 6. So please don't just take what I take and run with it. Make the phone call or go to our learning center to learn more about that.
Right, and that's what we're teaching now. We're training the trainers, because we came to a realization in our meeting in Tulsa is that, Gary Gunn or any of us can't train your people. You have to train your own people. So now we've shifted our webinars on the first and second Tuesday at 3 o'clock to training the trainer, training you guys how to train scripts and how to train positive, negative selling, how to overcome objections. How do you train that at your store? Because you're there and you can police it and you can train it and you can stay on top of that and make sure that it's happening. I can't. So you need to be the trainer in your location. So I want to go to number 7 here. And what I'd like to do is bring AC back again here. And AC, what is this leaving the ticket open? I mean, what are you teaching your people? What does that mean?
Well, what it means to me is when you get an objection, it's a way of overcoming the objection. Now, if you're trained and you can overcome the objection right then and there, then that's great. But if for some reason you run into a wall or a snag, you leave the ticket open. You ask permission for someone else to call that customer back. Like if you're the assistant manager and you know that this person's looking to save some money, and you really don't know how to do that, and you say, well, is it okay for my manager to call you back? He'll try to look and see if he can save you some money. It's just a good number to reach you at in 20, 30 minutes. So now you've asked permission for someone else to call them back. That doesn't mean that you got to reduce the price. I can talk with someone that's known me for years, and all it took was better explaining it. It wasn't about price. It was about understanding. So, but then if that doesn't work, then you can try to save them some money and get that sale. That's pretty much what it means to leave it open, is to let someone else call back, or call back yourself if you need to.
So AC, if I'm working for you at the front counter and for some reason I called Mrs. Jones and I just could not get her to say yes, then at the end I'm going to say, Mrs. Jones, I'd love for AC to give you a call. Maybe he can explain a little better than I can. With your permission, would we be able to do that?
Exactly.
And so now that sets you up to making that phone call. Just a change of voice or a change of way of saying it, or just the fact that it gave her a little bit of time to think before you called her back. And how many times would you leave that ticket open? How many times
leave it open as many as it takes.
Okay, as many as it takes. All right.
Yeah, until they just absolutely say absolutely not, forget it.
All right. Okay.
So
So
there's a point when you go, okay.
yeah, there has to be a point. Yeah, when they no longer take your call, right?
Exactly.
And they're standing there and they say, "I want my keys to the car." So,
Yeah.
that's
And
the
it's
time
probably
to back
one of
off.
it's probably one of the hardest things to teach your front, because in our industry, no one's ever been taught that. No one's been taught sales skills, and it's just now starting. So it's been going on for about 2 or 3 years now. But in the past, dealerships don't teach sales skills. They don't teach how to handle objections. They're like Tommy Boy, All righty then.
I knew he'd get in here somewhere, right? All right. Thanks, AC, for sharing that. So, Carrie, I know that let's go to Aaron on this. Aaron, on your PMI process in your 2 facilities, how critical is the PMI process to your success?
Well, the PMI process is very important as far as the
And AC, excuse me, Aaron, someone out there might be listening, they may not know what a PMI is. They might think it's, going to the doctor and getting something done, but tell them what it is and explain it to them, then tell us how it fits in.
Well, it's a process of checking the vehicle over, and of course it all starts with the speed of service process. Well, I guess everything just ties in so well together. First you have the saying yes, then you have the anytime script to actually get the person in the door, and then you have the speed of service. Don't let the keys hit the counter, get the vehicle back to the back, and then you have the vehicle on the lift where you can do an inspection process on the vehicle. You use the process of letting the person know of any concerns that any safety concerns you may find in the beginning, and then you are able to discuss that with the customer, possibly get them if they need a ride home as you are doing the rest of the inspection and taking care of their main concern. And it's more of a process that you can use on a consistent basis and give some consistency to what you're doing. And I think that it's very important to the business.
Okay. All right. I know we're touching on these last pieces a little bit less time, but when I'm watching my time, I want to wrap this up here in just a few minutes. And I know there's a difference between an oil change pathway and a broke car pathway. I know we've talked about this at many of the Mudstock events and a lot of our group meetings and various things like that. So why do we have a different pathway on those types of services, Aaron? What's the difference between an oil change pathway and a broke car pathway? How is that working in your business?
Well, when the person comes in for the oil change and lube, they are looking for a preventative maintenance type service done to the vehicle. Of course, they do want you to do the inspection on the vehicle, find out if there's any concerns on it. That part's very important. But they seem to be in a different state of mind when they come in for preventative maintenance. When a person comes in and the car is broken, some of their concerns they have a problem, they have an issue, they want their problem solved, and they would like their problem solved quickly. A lot of times that may be a matter of first identifying the concern, taking care of different issues that they may need a ride somewhere. They may have issues where money may be an issue. but you try to take care of their concern as quickly as possible and give them a way of, if their wife needs a ride somewhere or whatever, you do whatever you need to do to solve their problem.
Okay. And we'll go into more of that detail in a different webinar. And then I'd like Greg to comment here and take us on number 10 here. I think that's something that's very, very dear to Greg Sand's heart, is employee training. And without employee training, Greg, where would you be?
Well, I would probably be working somewhere else for somebody else.
Okay.
But that's the secret to this whole thing. And, you know, the cool thing is you got a lot of people on this webinar today, and that speaks highly to the shop owners that you have. I know at our last event in Tulsa, I think the average shop owner in there was doing 1.2 million or something like that in sales. That's 3 to 4 times the industry average. The people on this call are already committed to training, or they wouldn't be on here. Sitting on a webinar for an hour takes a little bit of dedication. What I love is that at Mudlick Mail and with your deal, Gary, is that if you don't think you're a good trainer, well, let us train you. Go on our learning center. Go to Gary Gunn. Go to his training and get your team. My own guys listen to these webinars. My own guys go and watch the videos on the training center for Mudlick Mail. So that's how you learn if you don't feel like you're a good trainer. The key is to get your employees educated. You know, I just made this commitment. You know, Aaron Stokes, I was just at his shops the last 2 days up in Nashville, Tennessee. And he spends a lot of money on training. Not only does he train in his stores, but he's dedicated. Any event that I do with Gary, he brings at least 3 of his own managers to that event. So they're in Tulsa. When we were in Tulsa, they're in Phoenix. He is so dedicated to that. Well, his stores, I think one's doing over $220,000 a month, the other one in the 170s, and his new one's doing between 110 and 120. Those employees are stoked because he's investing, the owner's investing the time in them. You know, it's real easy as an owner, and I get guilty of this too. If you're not training your employees, guess what you're doing? You're complaining about your employees. You'll start to go, I've got the dumbest employees in the world. I just don't hire good people. The truth is, you can take average people, and if you're totally dedicated to training them, they will just die for you. You can probably remember the ones that's been around a long time, or the employees that have stayed with you over the years. They've stayed with you because early on you spent time with them. And now you kind of got to reevaluate today, am I still spending that kind of time with them? So mission critical, invest in training, whether you do it yourself or you use other people to help you. It will just change your life.
So let's think about this and close this out. But we're talking about 10 strategies here. There are many more pieces to the strategic puzzle to make this work. But I thought I would pick these 10 and review those today with you. And there's no way you're going to walk out of here understanding every one of these 10 pieces and now be able to execute those. That takes time. And the statement I want to make here is that, you know, this is not a theory or a concept that we're saying, hey, you know, these are real shop owners. Greg's a real shop owner. They're executing this every day. AC's executing it every day. Aaron's everyday execution. Kerry in his business is doing that. And Mars, and I wanted to bring this panel on because this is not stuff we made up in the back room. This is exactly what they are training every day and expecting their team to deliver, and that's why they're getting the results they're getting. So it is the standard operating systems, as Greg alluded to earlier. These are part of that systemic process. So we know we have to be saying, yes, okay, how do you do that? What does that mean? We know we need to do speed of service. Okay, what does that mean? How do we do that? You got to answer every one of those questions for yourself in your own facility and learn how to implement that and make it stick and then have it executed. No one can do that for you but you. You are the leader. And so we know what we teach is real. I believe it 127%. I believe it 200%. I see it happening in small town Illinois, in Phoenix, Arizona, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I mean, everywhere we go, this works. So what I'd like to do, guys, is we'll go around the verbal room here and look at that list. And in your facility, which one do you think of those 10 you're the best at and why? So I know that was kind of a pop real question on you really quick, but Mars, I know I'm going to start with you. You always have the answers. So which of those 10 do you think you're the best at and why?
Well, I would say we're the best at saying yes, because that's all we do.
And why?
Because that's what we do. We say yes, and we don't say no. We don't look in the back like AC was saying. We don't turn around to see like, hey, you're really blown out. Do you have a chance? We don't turn around. We say absolutely. Is now a good time to take, to help you out.
Okay.
That's why. I mean.
So you shine with yes, right?
We shine with yes.
Okay. So Kerry, which one do you feel you all execute the best out of the 10?
Well, at my place, it's probably the scripting, number 6. Okay. I watch and listen, and we do have a call logger. I listen to the phone presentations. And that's probably the one thing we focus on the most. I also wanted to mention on number 9, changing my employees' view, even though we didn't talk about number 9, changing their view of oil changes was critical. About 3 years ago. We started making that change and decided that oil changes were really where we needed to be. We needed to do oil changes. And it's been tremendous, the difference that changing their concept makes on oil changes.
Okay, but you're taking number 6. That's where you really focus a lot of your training and attention on number 6.
Yep, on the scripts, yes.
Okay, great. All right. So we got a number 1 and a number 6. So AC, which one do you think you shine the best on here, buddy?
Absolutely, saying yes.
Oh, you're going to take yes again. Okay, all right.
I'll take yes again. I'll take it every single time.
Okay, sounds good. So Aaron, how about you?
Gary, I would say that executing the speed of service, we've tried very hard to have a very motivated, exciting crew that we do try our very best that when that vehicle comes in the door, we keep things moving. As far as we have a tow truck driver that's dedicated to just our vehicles. When he gets a pull, he's immediately out the door to get the vehicle in quickly. He knows he's representing our company when he gets to the destination. And we try to keep the customer informed of what needs to be done to the vehicle. And I feel like the speed of service has been very good to us. I feel like another area that we work on very hard is to continue to learn, continue to get better.
Okay, so you feel the speed of service is where you do best. All right. So Greg, and if you were looking at your 24 stores and your total operation, where do you think you guys shine the most?
Well, I still say the most important thing, which is utilizing the board. We utilize the board, which makes all the other things happen that's on this top 10 list. It educates your people, it handles the pathway, the PM process, everything. That is where it's at. If you start there and learn to master the board, you will become good at saying yes and speed of service. That's really the key to me, and that's where I always start, and that's where I go to when I go into a store. I always go to the board first to see what's happening in the store.
Okay. That's your diary of what's been going on, right?
That's it.
Yeah. And I love what Mike Daniels said. I think it was maybe 2 years ago. It must like he says he never has a broken store. It's always someone running the boards not paying attention.
That's right. That is right.
He said it's always right there. It's always in the board. He said if you're not, what makes it from a good store to a great store is the actual detailed position on that board and running that thing successfully.
Yeah, and if you really understand what it is, it's like any of these things, you got to become a student of this deal. When you see, running the board, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but when you get in and just try it and stick to it for 30 days, anybody that takes a 30-day challenge, they will never go away from the board. You know, it's the same deal with saying yes. A lot of these guys that are panelists today, I remember these same guys. There's some great guys on here, but they didn't always do 600-700 cars. They had to change their way of thinking. There's probably not a shop out there that they couldn't double their car count over the next year by becoming passionate about saying yes to customers and really focusing on speed of service. I'll give you one little tip. We haven't instituted this yet, but it was so cool. You know, I get to go to shops all the time, and Aaron, again, up in Nashville, he took it to another level on the speed of service, and I just love this idea. He bought these little online, these little cheap timers. They're like little stopwatches. And every oil change that comes in has a stopwatch associated with it. Any waiter that's waiting has a stopwatch. That took it to another level for me than just writing down the times, because it's attached to the order. So you're sitting there looking at it knowing, hey, that customer's been in the waiting room for 35 minutes. And that, to me, that was taking the whole speed of service and being committed to it and taking it to a new level. So I was really pumped to see that.
Right, right. Okay, I would like to say thank you to Greg Sands and the time and effort he spends with our group and coming to these webinars and sharing his concept, his box, his ideas of how to run the business, and teaching us these concepts so we can all get better. And Greg, thank you for being willing to share that and help us out, because it really has helped us. And we had some living proof on the phone today with Carrie and Mars and AC and Aaron, and there's many, many more out there that are listening today that have results as well as these guys. So thank you for your time. Be watching for the webinar coming up next week on the 17th. That's a No Reverse Club. And we're going to have Mr. Sands back in December for another round. So be watching for that email to go out, folks. And thank you very much for being here. And it's the highest attended webinar we've had since we started. So thanks to everybody, and thanks for tuning in.
You're welcome. Thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.